So today we're going to dive into Catherine McKinnon's piece on in her response to the topic of pornography. Um, and again, this is kind of on the heels of what we saw with Altman and his focus on sexual autonomy, where McKinnon, and I kind of introduced this on Wednesday, but McKinnon is going to take a decidedly different approach here, and this focus that she's going to take is quite pointed. It's quite forceful in a response to the dangers of pornography, the dangers of and the harm that pornography inflicts both on women and on men. And her approach, as I indicated on Wednesday, is much more of a feminist kind of, at least one brand of feminism approach on the topic of pornography here. And so this piece is called Pornography, Civil Rights, and Speech, written by Catherine McKinnon. And again, this critique of pornography is going to have a pretty dramatic feminist approach to it. Okay? And so just note that it's going to be very different than what we saw with Altman. Where Altman again is promoting this kind of notion of sexual autonomy, this notion that people should have a broad range of liberties to define and enact their own sexuality, and if the consumption of pornography is part of that and those sexually defining acts, then one should have the right to do those things. Okay. Well, McKinnon is going to make the observation that actually pornography is very damaging. It's very damaging to both men. It's damaging to women in particular for a lot of different reasons. And so I'm going to kind of bounce through her article here and show and offer kind of a space as to where and how this damage occurs or can occur. Okay. And she makes the mention out of the gates here. I will first situate the critique of pornography within a feminist analysis of the condition of women. I will speak of what pornography means for social status and treatment of women. Okay, so again, a very different kind of approach and very different lens and angle than what we saw with Altman. Once power constructs social reality, as I will show, pornography constructs social reality of gender. The force behind sexism, the subordination and gender inequality is made visible. Dissent from it becomes inaudible as well as rare. And there's actually a lot of subtext there in those words. And this is, again, something to consider in kind of the debate on pornography. And it goes back to discussions last week thinking about sex and gender. But a question to ask here is, does pornography, right, and the way that often in pornography there is this kind of hierarchy that is represented, which we'll dive into in a little bit. But could it very well be the case that pornography does construct kind of a reality of gender, right? And, especially in the heteronormative framework, in thinking about what males expect from females and what females expect to give males in terms of kind of sexual endeavors and sexual experiences, right? Well, where does that come from? And could it very well come from the case that pornography manifests those representations, right? Moreover, does pornography reinforce this kind of subordination of one over the other, both in kind of the literal and metaphoric sense? Okay? And so she makes the provocative claim here, I think, that what a woman is defined in pornographic terms. This is what pornography does. Pornography defines woman, defines women. Okay? And again, I think that this is a provocative claim. I think it's I think it's a very provocative claim. Okay, and she goes on to say that equality for women is incompatible with the definition of men's freedom, that is, at our own expense. What can freedom from women mean so long as we remain unequal? What should men's freedom to use us in this way be purchased with our second-class civil status? And what she's kind of, again, making the observation that, again, typically, especially historically, and even still in commonplace today, pornography is represented as one over the other. Typically, right, the male is the dominant force, the male is the one that is there to be served, and the one that serves the male is the female. So there is this kind of hierarchy that is present in much of pornographic materials. Okay? And she makes this observation, and she says, well, what is this doing kind of like sociologically? What is this doing to the men and the women that view pornography, right? In what way does that, again, kind of perpetuate these power structures that are so deeply ingrained, perhaps in ways of thinking that we don't really notice them, right? And pornography very well is a space that kind of promotes that inequality, okay? All right. And, all right. So I'm going to kind of keep moving here, a couple paragraphs down, where again she's making she's making a variety of various observations here. She says feminism is the discovery that women do not live in this world. The person occupying this world is the realm is man, so much more a man as if he is white and wealthy. This world of potential credibility, authority, security, and just rewards, recognitions of one's identity and capacity, blah, blah, blah. I call this a discovery because it's not an assumption. Feminism is the first theory, the first practice, the first movement to take seriously the situation of all women from the point of view of all women, both on our situation and social life as a whole. What I'm saying is that if we are the tree fallen in the epistemological forest, and your demise doesn't make a sound if no one's listening. Okay, and so again, kind of like thinking about so much that has gone unnoticed, so much has gone unexamined, so much has been just kind of taken to be that's how things are. Indeed, perpetuate these structures that are really damaging to both women and men. Okay? Next video.